Let's make it now. You wanna do it
Yeah, we could do that. I'll do it, yeah.
during the announcements?
Yeah.
I was gonna let him do it, but he doesn't be here. Oh, here he comes right now.
Oh, perfect. Hey, Jeff. Okay, so we're good to start. Okay. Aloha wakekako. The time is 12:02, and I'll call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. I'm Chair John Pelletier, and the Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee meeting will come to order. This meeting is being held in person and via interactive conference technology. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted onto the Planning Department's YouTube channel. Sunshine law reminder for remote members, please keep your camera on. Also, please state for the record where you're participating from and whether anyone is in the room with you, except for minors. At this time, I'd like to invite Charles Young to open today's meeting with an Olelo no way out.
Certainly, this time I came prepared.
Awesome.
Very simple, kahana no kamakua, o kahana no ia akeki. What the parents do, the children will do. And I think we all know the significance of that.
Right on. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Okay, we will do a roll call now. I'll start with the committee members present here. I'll start with Nancy on my left.
I'm Nancy Sikio, I'm the vice chair of the AC, and I live in Capel for 30 years.
Charles Young from Kealia, South Kona.
Raymond Kirschner from Kona.
And I'm John Pelletier. I live in O'oma, North Kona. And then we have two members on Zoom. Charlotte, if you want to start. Ooh, we cannot hear you, Charlotte.
I'm Charlotte Thompson, member of the CDP, and I live in Kona.
Thank you,
Hi,
Charlotte.
Charlotte, good to see you.
I see Shane is also on.
Yeah.
Yep, aloha, Shane Nelson from South Kona, Kealakekua Bay. Aloha.
Hi, Shane.
Right on. Thank you, anyone. So confirming we have quorum to hold this meeting. And then planning staff, if you all want to introduce yourself. Sorry, with Janice over here.
Aloha, Janet Hata with the planning department. Hello, Velo Kalili with the planning department.
And is Jessica still on Zoom?
Yes, Jessica Hip, planning department.
Right on. Thank you all. Is that everyone?
Marian Palma with the planning department on Zoom also. Hi, folks.
Thanks, Mario.
Oh,
Okay, some housekeeping. Please ensure your cell phones are silenced. If you're here in person and wish to testify, please complete the sign-up form and provide it to staff. If you're joining via Zoom and wish to testify, please use the raise hand feature or send a message in the chat to the Zoom host indicating the agenda item for which you wish to speak. All speakers are asked to clearly state their name for the record before beginning their testimony. For those attending in person, please direct your comments towards the OWL camera and microphone so that participants on Zoom can hear you clearly. As a reminder, we strive to conduct our meetings in the spirit of aloha, maintain an open and positive attitude, listen to understand, respect that everyone has the right to share their ideas and feel comfortable doing so. It is acceptable to disagree, but please do so respectfully. Focus on the issue, not the individual. One person speaks at a time with no side conversations. Minimize distractions by silencing cell phones and refraining from outside work during the meeting. Consideration of everyone's time, please adhere to the established time limits. Okay, the time is 12:05. The committee will consider approving draft minutes from the June 9th, 2026 meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes last meeting? If not, can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve.
Second.
Nancy will second them.
Oh, I think RJ got you there
Oh,
first.
okay.
Okay, so moved by Charlie, seconded by RJ to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any other discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Seeing none, okay, the minutes are approved. Okay, the time is 12:06. We'll now take public testimony on items that are on today's agenda. As noted on the agenda, members of the public may testify now or when a specific agenda item is called to order. Testimony may be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. Please keep comments to matters within the committee's scope and related to the item you are addressing. All right, and I have testimony from Josephine. Josephine, you want to testify now?
No,
At the agenda item?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would, John.
Okay. Janice, you can go ahead.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that the chat says it's disabled, just so you guys know. I'm speaking to Bill 147 again. What I've read, and hi, everybody, this is Janice Paul McGlenny. What I've heard and read regarding the latest draft of Bill 147 continues to make me uncomfortable. Maui and Oahu counties seem to have been able to enact stronger restrictions, which makes me wonder why we continue to try to reinvent this wheel. Again, unhosted rentals should only exist in resort nodes, while hosted rentals should be limited to owner hosted, and in even less zones than proposed currently in Bill 147. And as we've heard, even allowing owner hosted short-term rentals can wreak havoc and grief for neighbors and neighborhoods, while the whole vacation rental paradigm contributes hugely to making housing unaffordable for local residents. Short-term rentals have created a catch-22 that some people feel caught in, a hamster wheel they're afraid to or feel they can't step out of. But the industry feeds the need to rent by raising costs, adding new rentals ad nauseum. This is the time and the place to help stop that wheel from spinning. The two compromises I propose, allowing unhosted STVRs in resort zones only and limiting rentals to owner hosted rather than manager or other non-owners, would achieve what Councilmember Kimball and most local residents outside the vacation rental industry and communities say they would like to see happen, while still protecting those local residents who can't afford to stop renting rooms on their properties. The rest of the exercise in Bill 147 feels like contortions meant to pacify Airbnb and the almighty Realtors Association lobbies and interests. This community-driven committee wasn't created to protect their interests and resources. And I mahalo you so much, all of you, for being so attuned to that fact and for working towards it. Mahalo, everyone.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
Are we allowed to?
I don't know, can I say something to Janice?
I think you can question testifiers or.
Well, unless I had a suggestion.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Hi, Janice.
Yes.
You know, the Leeward Planning Commission meeting is Thursday. If you're available, it'd be useful for you to present the same testimony to them, because they're the ones that are gonna be voting.
Thanks.
That's
And I was really
my-
only saying as an encouragement, and thank you so much for letting me know and other people who are listening. And I'm definitely going to try to be there. Thanks heaps.
Thank you, Janice. Thanks, Nancy. Is there anyone else on Zoom that wishes to testify now on the agenda? Okay, seeing none for now. You can also testify before the agenda item. We'll move to third-party reports from government officials. The committee may receive and discuss information from third-party reports by any government official that are not listed on the publicly noticed agenda. The committee may not make decisions on matters raised only through third-party reports until a later meeting where the agenda gives notice that the committee may take action on the matter. Do we have any third-party reports? Seeing none. Okay, we'll move on to the business. The time is 12:10. We'll now move on to committee business. Starting with agenda item 1, coconut rhinoceros beetle update. We're gonna have a presentation by Franny Brewer regarding the status of the coconut rhinoceros beetle in Kona, including an overview of interim rule 26-1 issued by the Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity, current detection and response efforts, and opportunities for community involvement in CRB detection and removal. The AC may ask questions, discuss the presentation, consider potential action, including providing recommendations or authorizing correspondence related to CRB response efforts. Is there anyone that wishes to testify on this item before we start? Seeing none, I see Franny is here. Thank you so much for being here today, and you can start your presentation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hang on just a second and I'll get this shared. Oh, it's asking me to send a request to you for sharing. Okay, looks like it's allowing. Okay. We have a screen. We got it?
Yeah, we see it.
Great. Aloha, thanks for having me here. Franny Brewer, I am the program manager for Big Island Invasive Species Committee, which is part of UH. And I just wanted to take a moment. I'm on the Puna CDP Action Committee, so we do a lot of like hosting folks that are giving updates on things that are happening in our community. So I thought, hey, from CDP to CDP, I'll reach out to you guys. I really wanted to share with you about coconut rhinoceros beetle. It's been about a year, and unfortunately, it's been a busy year for CRB in Kona. So wanted to give everybody here an update. I know folks in your community probably turn to you for questions and stuff as they do in Puna. So want to prepare you with information. So please feel free after this as well to reach out to me if there's any questions. Just quick background. Hopefully everybody's really familiar with this. It's been on Oahu since 2013. Very, very destructive beetle, one of the 100 worst invasive species in the world. It's native to Southeast Asia, but sometime around the 1990s, it had been moving since the early 1900s, and sometime around the 1990s, a form evolved that was resistant to its natural virus that keeps it in control in its home range. And so there's been an explosion since the 1990s of coconut rhinoceros beetles sort of invading these areas that a lot had under control, and also like Hawaii that never had CRB. So you can look on the news, you can see how, if you've been to Oahu, you can see how destructive it's been spreading on Kauai since 2023, has done a lot of damage over there. And was very unfortunate for us that we had our first detection of this in October 2023. We were really upset and worried about it. That was in Waikoloa, started with 6 grubs, and throughout the entire response, which semi-ended in October of 2025, because that was the last time we saw a beetle there, we only found a total of 6 larvae and 6 adults. That was what was all ever found in Waikoloa. And so we're feeling pretty good about that particular detection and response had worked really well, and the beetle had been eradicated. But unfortunately, in March of 2025, we had a beetle found in Kona at the airport. And I'm sorry, that should have said Waikoloa ended in 2024, not 2025. That's my mistake. But yeah, in Kona, we had a beetle at the airport trap. We've been monitoring those since 2017. And that first slide you saw was our summer intern who was with us when we found that beetle. And it did not go as quickly and as well as Waikoloa. And today we've got somewhere around upwards of 1,200 beetles have been found throughout the Kona area. And you may have seen in the news when I was preparing to come see you guys, I had to go back and change my slides because we now have a new detection in Hilo as of last week. So unfortunately, we think all 3 of these are actually separate introductions of the beetle. You can never know for sure, but that's what's been going on with the Big Island. And I'm sure you've also seen in the news, Maui, Molokai, and Lanai have all had detections of beetles. Okay, so just looking at the Big Island, we monitor traps throughout the island because, the earlier we can find it, the better chance we have of getting it under control, even if it's not eradicable, at least for containment. So that's something that we've been working on for a while, and we have a lot of hosts throughout, a lot of people who are hosting traps throughout Kona. So if folks are interested, and you or someone in your community is interested in hosting a panel trap, it's pretty easy. It's low tech. It's a 3-month pheromone. You put the trap up in your yard, and this way it kind of gives us another detection point. And especially if you're towards the north end or the south end of the detection, that would really help us. It's very easy to report, QR code, or just go online. And if you don't see anything, great. If you do see something, let us know right away. So we've been asking folks to do that. Lots of trapping going. That's what the panel trap looks like there. We're also setting up sort of these, there's different types of detection traps, and we're trying different ones to see which ones are most effective. So sometimes like coconut logs, that are decomposing, you can wrap them in netting. If you do the netting right, the beetles can get caught up in that. So mulch piles, netting those. So we're trying a bunch of different trap types throughout the island. Another thing you probably hear a lot about, this is not so much BISC, this would be the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. They've been handling a lot of the tree injections in Kona, so the public areas and where a lot of palm trees are, that we know that there are beetles. There's a couple different ways you can protect trees, one being crown spray, which lasts a shorter amount of time, but doesn't harm the nuts, so you can continue to use the nuts. And then the other being injections, which the fruit and the flowers have to be removed from the tree if the tree is injected. So again, I'm trying to go fast so you guys can move on to the rest of your agenda. But if you have questions about this, please feel free to reach out and ask. The palm surveys, we're very confident. A lot of people will say things. I hear this a lot, especially in Pune, I hear this like, oh, it's been here forever. We know we have CRB, and we really don't. We've had traps out across the island for about 10 years and had nothing turn up until, we got this like one turn up in Waikoloa and then Kona and then Hilo. Like it's pretty fast by the time that we find it. And then, start to find tree damage in a certain amount of time after that. So this is something that we've been doing for a while and we're continuing to do, and now we're expanding. So the airport and the harbor monitoring, plus we had some other traps across the island in various places. And we've increased that trap density in places that are now impacted. Now we have sort of 3 areas. And then we also will go out and do palm surveys if it's reported to us that somebody sees palm damage. And palm damage is something that it doesn't actually show up right away. It's not going to be your first sign of coconut rhinoceros beetle impact. That's sort of one of the confusion. And a lot of times people will report trees to us in an area where there's been no other indicator. And though we will go out and look at those trees, we really don't see tree damage. Even with the Kona find, we found the beetle in March. We did not find the first tree damage until June of that year. And that was very, very limited, like 2 trees. So there is usually a delay from when the beetle comes in until you actually see tree damage, because during that feeding event, the beetle will go in to the very base of the frond. And you won't see the damage until that frond completely unfurls, which takes months. A lot of coconut palms, it can take, those ones at the very bottom could be 2 years old. So the other thing is that if you see a damaged tree, it isn't like other beetles where the damaged tree means the beetle is inside of it. There's a really good chance, especially this early in an infestation, that the beetle went in, ate, and moved on and isn't in the tree any longer. So you'll see if you see one frond that's damaged, that means the beetle was there a few months ago. It doesn't mean it still is. So it's just kind of important for understanding this infestation as we're looking at it overall. The thing that we're really focused on, because it spends such a short amount of its time, the beetle spends such a short amount of its life cycle in trees, we're really looking at breeding sites, which are in decaying plant matter, right? So if you look at that sort of 3rd bar down where it says location, that's just sort of looking at the beetle's life cycle. How much time is it spending in a tree versus how much time is it spending in stuff that's on the ground? And you can see by far, you're going to find that life cycle that it's spending. Even when it becomes an adult, it'll go into the tree to feed. It might hang out there for a short amount of time, but then when it wants to breed and it wants to go and lay eggs, it's going to go back down onto the ground. So we really want to focus on breeding sites when we're looking at this. All beetles start out as grubs. So it's important to understand that just because you find a grub doesn't mean that it's a coconut rhinoceros beetle. So identification is really important. If you find something, you don't want to just say, feed it to the chickens. You really want to say, hold on, we got to capture that. We have to call the experts and see if this is the bad guy that we're looking for. We do have a grub that's a really, really close look-alike, Oriental flower beetle, very common across the island. Not really bad guy, feeds on rotting fruits and stuff. So like, we don't worry too much about that guy, but it is important that if you have grubs, you give us a chance to take a look at them. You could take good pictures. Video is really great because the way they move will tell us a lot about what that might be. And if we need to take a closer look, we'd like to have that thing contained so that we can get it from you. So yeah. Just if you see that stuff, neighbors say to you, you see it on your community Facebook, oh, I found this grub, like just have them hang on to it, take some pictures and video and send it in to us, and then we'll go from there. Okay. I added a little video of Manu here. That's our detection dog. He's been working in Waikoloa and Kona since 2024. He is very well trained on finding CRB, and he's already found, I think at this point, 4 or 5 different breeding sites in Kona. So very proud of his work. But a lot of that, you know, you can see that picture on the side. It's Michelle, our detection dog handler from Hawaii Detection Dogs. But you can see in that left picture that mulch piles can be very large in some places, and it's a lot for humans to dig through, and it's pretty easy to miss just eggs or something like that. And the dog has a much better sense of where these things might be because it's operating on a scale that's beyond human capability. So we're really trying to use the dog to our advantage. Okay, so again, really focusing on that. Tell everyone, you know, anybody who has decomposing material, green waste, you know, whether it's inadvertent or whether they're using it because they're farming or they're growing, that they really want to watch out for grubs. And if they see it, get a picture, get video, and then save it, because we might come back and see the video and we're like, no, you don't got to worry about that one. And then you can toss it. But if we say, hold on, hold that for us, then we want you to still have it. Like, not, you know, a lot of people will call us and say, oh, I saw that, and they squished it. And they're like, no, don't squish it. One of the things that we've done over in Kona recently at the end of June, some people might have seen this, we funded by Department of Land and Natural Resources, coordinated with Department of Transportation and the County of Hawaii, Hawaii Earth Recycling, and also working with Hawaii Wildfire Management, because green waste in piles around a residential area is a fire hazard. We were really encouraging the community to clean up green waste, and we were able to provide, through DLNR's funding, we were able to provide some bins that people could bring their green waste to, because we have heard from many people that it's a challenge that there's limited days and accessibility for dropping off green waste at Kealakehe transfer station. And we have been in talks with the county about that. They are well aware of that. They said it's kind of the #1 complaint is how little access people have for green waste drop off, and they are working on it. So I think they added a day since we started this, that there's one more day now at Kealakehe. So it's something that we are advocating for people to have more access. We're hoping maybe we can do something like this again, another green waste cleanup, but it's all going to depend on funding. So we'll see. Okay. You see how many times I say report? We get people on Facebook, you know, they're like, people on Facebook, what do you think this is? And then everyone else is putting, we're like, no, please put it to us. Send it to us. Okay. So that's kind of just the overview, but I wanted to also talk to you folks about the interim rule. So I'm going to jump off of this, and did it change to the website, or is it stuck on?
No, it's still on the previous website.
Yeah, okay, let me stop and then try again. Sometimes it's like, oh no, I'm going to control this. So on our website, we have a whole coconut rhinoceros beetle page, and it's sort of a one-stop shop that you can go to, where you can report anything that you need. You can, it kind of talks about things you can do. It talks more about the life cycle, the different types of trees that are hosts, what you would look for with tree damage, FAQs, and lots of handouts and more information. So I encourage anyone who's, you know, curious about CRB and what's going on the island, please go there. We have also a map that's real time that you can go on to see where detections are. So anybody can access this. It doesn't show individual properties, but it just sort of shows cumulatively over area. So go in. I did not mean to turn I'm at a hotel. I'm in Honolulu for a conference, so I'm having some issues with my Wi-Fi. So I apologize if this is going really slow, and I don't know how it turned the island around, and I can't turn it back. Okay. Anyway, you can go in there and you can see that, and it'll give you that kind of update on how much adults, how much larvae we found, total trap checks. And then the last one I want to share is about, hold on. No, I don't want that. I want to talk really quickly about the interim rule. So there were two organizations on Hawaii Island, Pohako Pelemaka, which is based in Puna, and Hawaii Wildlife Fund, which is based in Ka'u. And these petitioners have large tracts of land they are stewarding that have at-risk palms, coconut palms, new, but also lolu palms, which is our endemic native palm, which is an endangered or threatened species, but depending on which species you're talking about. So in March, they actually went to the Board of Agriculture in January, and there needed to be some things worked on to make this rule workable, and the board passed it at the end of March. So in March, this interim rule 26-1 went into effect, which requires that businesses within the affected zone, and the map of the affected zone is right here on the website, and within the compliance agreements, which are available on the DAB website as well, that anybody within that area who is commercially moving any palm materials, like live palms, any kind of waste, decomposing material, if you're commercially doing any kind of work with palms or decomposing material, that you need to go to a training that will give you best management practices, and then you need to adhere to those best management practices to be in compliance and receive a compliance agreement. So we've been offering these compliance trainings. I would say probably less than 15% of the businesses that are doing this work in Kona have actually become compliant, which is kind of disturbing. So as of I just found out about this a couple days ago, but there has been between the councilperson Hustis and councilperson Inaba, they have introduced to the county I believe it's a resolution that's asking the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. I believe it's going to be heard on the 22nd at the county council meeting, asking them to enforce this rule, that it's really, really important to try and get that containment to keep it from moving across the island. Obviously, it's a little more complicated now with the find and helo, but we do believe that was a separate introduction that's not related to the Kona introduction. We'll more time will tell on that. But we would really ask if you know anybody who works in, nurseries, landscaping, hauling, processing, anybody who's working with these types of materials that could be affected, to encourage them to reach out to us to arrange for a training, and also to, just be in doing these best management practices. And if you are interested and you would like to see more enforcement, because, one thing that we've noted when we met with these folks, when we were developing the rule, we met with a lot of these stakeholders, and they said, it's unfair if this is going to only apply to the little guy and it's not going to apply to the big box stores, right? Because a lot of them have mulch material that's sitting outside. They have potted plants that are moving around the island. And so this is supposed to apply to everyone, including those, and none of those are compliant yet. And we really need to have that compliance come from the regulatory agency of the state. We're just the educators. So if you're interested in seeing that happen, and you want to support those local businesses that are trying to be Pono and make this work, please do reach out and give your testimony next week. And I can share the details with the team, but like I said, I just found out about this and now I'm at a conference, so I don't have a lot of details just yet. But yeah, that's all I have. And I really appreciate your time on this. It's so important. We don't want to have devastated palms like I'm seeing here on Oahu. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Franny. Really appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions for Franny?
I was just, may I ask a question, Chair?
Yeah.
What is the control mechanism? Is the control mechanism only finding them literally? Or
As far as larvae, yeah, I mean, there's no approved product. There is some stuff you can use as a homeowner, but not as a commercial business. There are some products labeled like in your home compost, but of course they're insecticides. So a lot of people, if they have home compost, don't necessarily want to kill every single bug that's in that compost, right? So there are some things, but that's still not approved for commercial use. So commercial ones, the way that would work is heating. So if you if you have a big enough mulch pile and you're churning it and you're really managing that mulch pile, the heat, naturally from microbial activity will reach the temperature. It needs to be over 115 degrees. We generally say 130 to be sure, where that will kill any larva or eggs that are inside the decomposing material. But that really has to be a managed pile, and you need to be taking measurements to make sure that's happening. And so that's one of the reasons we're encouraging people to get rid of the green waste properly, because at West Hawaii Organics facility up in Waikoloa, they've been doing that now for a few years to make sure that material is not contaminated with coconut rhinoceros beetle. But as soon as it cools, it can get reinfested. So even if you get it and it's perfectly good and you put it on your property, if you're in that area, they could fly in. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you know what the resolution number is? What they're
Can
introducing?
I want to let you guys move on, so I don't want you to wait here while I look it up, but I can look it up and put it in the chat. Oh wait, the chat doesn't work. I can look it up and jump back in.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will. I'll look it up when you go on to your next item.
Any other questions for Franny before we move on?
I have one.
Oh, Janice, you go for it.
Hi. Thanks for that. Was fantastic. I'm in the landscape industry. I've been getting more and more concerned, and so I appreciate hearing some details that I hadn't seen or heard. Fanny, anyway, I wanted to ask, there's a big unofficial but large green waste dump on Huawei Road, and I don't know if that's in that area that was on your map, and I'm sure you guys know about it, but my concern is that, and you were talking about enforcement, and I think one of the things that might need to be enforced is, this, because of the lack of availability for green waste dumping, official green waste dumping, people are going other places. And I know a lot of companies that are dumping their green waste on properties where the people say, yeah, give me whatever amount a month and you can dump all your stuff on my property. The one up Huawei Road is way more, it's bigger than that. And definitely, people are taking stuff there. And I'm just wondering, as far as the county enforcing these unofficial waste dumps, and if, that's something I would also be encouraging, talking about that bill next week, or Holeka and James Hustis, something to focus on, because it's kind of an elephant in the room. Thanks.
Yeah, I know the pile you're talking about. We know the pile you're talking about. And we have those concerns too. I mean, that's long been a concern. And, that's something we've talked about with County Department of Environmental Management. There are long stretches of this island where it would take, 45 minutes for someone to take green waste somewhere. There's no place to take it. And so this is like a, bigger problem that, they have to work on. But regulation of those illegal, assuming, I don't know, that if you're just accepting money to have something dumped on your property, that is illegal. It's regulated by the Department of Health. So we've actually been passing, when we get reports of those, and we're seeing, and there's a kind of a difference between like everybody in the neighborhood's going to the cul-de-sac and dumping there. And we've been trying to remove those. But then there's like these piles where it's like, obviously someone's collecting this, and probably there's some money involved. So we've been passing those over to Department of Health, because that's really a regulation for them. And of course they've, they're concerned, but they don't necessarily have a lot of staff to follow up on those. So I would mention those to your state legislators, that you need to see the Department of Health regulating them, because I think that's kind of the flow for that particular situation.
Okay, that's really great information. Thanks so much again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being aware of that. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, thank you again, Franny. That was a really great presentation. Learned a lot from that.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. And I'll jump back on when I find that resolution number.
Okay, thank you so much. I guess the question I guess for us is, if we find that resolution, is it something we want to write testimony to support, which is why I was interested in it. It's hard to know unless we have the text. of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is the resolution
Yeah.
asking for? I don't know what.
Yeah, Franny said it was supporting or urging, I guess, the state to enforce the having the companies go through the compliance training, yeah. But maybe we can come back to it, get the number. Okay. With that, we'll move on to agenda item 2, road priorities. Discussion regarding transportation priorities identified in the Kona CDP, including Kahului, Keaho Parkway, and Laco Street Extension. The AEC may consider potential action, including requesting the Director of Department of Public Works provide an update at a future meeting on the status, planned implementation, and anticipated timeline for these transportation projects. Again, the time is 12:37, and item number 2 is called to order. Josephine, if you want to provide your testimony, you can go ahead.
Dear members, I just want to remind everyone that the Kona CDP was created about 20 years ago when this Kahului Keaho Parkway at that time was still on the list for federal funding, which is why it was a priority project back then. The county cannot build roads without federal funds. Okay, so since then, that project has been removed from the list for federal funding, and in my opinion, it no longer has priority status and therefore may not be as important as we may think. We now have a bypass roadway that brings traffic from South Kona into Keaho, which greatly alleviates congestion in Kealakekua and Kainuleo towns. I think the current bypass is enough as a congestion alleviator, and there is really no need to plow more roadway past Keaho, especially when it would be very disruptive to the Ali'ikai subdivision. And also, when we all know that the bottleneck currently happening at the Kamehameha 3 and Kuakini intersection will also happen at Laco Street or further down at Hualalai Road if this parkway continues through. I also want to add that ever since this parkway became a priority, I've been attending every meeting open to the public on this project during the entire 8 years that Mayor Kim was first in office. So I know this parkway very well. Furthermore, from my own observations of driver behavior, which has worsened over the last 5 years, our drivers do not deserve this parkway. Many drivers do not come to a complete stop at our 3-way stop intersections on Ali'i Drive. And they even pass you on the right hand turn lane, going south at the Laco and Kuakini intersection. That has happened to me twice. So bottom line, I do not feel that the parkway is a priority and we really don't need it. But if it does go through, then some heavy duty speed tables should be installed, just like the 3 installed at Tashimas. Mahalo.
Thank you, Josephine. Do we have any other testimony on this agenda item? Okay, hearing none, I'll pass it over to you, RJ. You initiated this.
18 years ago, the community development plan stated that we had a traffic congestion problem. And it laid out certain corridors that were important and needed to be improved. Very few of those have ever occurred. 2 very important ones are the Kahului Keaho Parkway and the Laco Street extension. Let me tell you something about the Laco Street extension. I've done extensive work in the city of Lahaina after the fire and for appraisal work for the county of Maui. If we don't find better ways to get out of the Ali'i Drive area in case of an emergency, we're gonna have the same type of thing happen here. We need more Makai and Mauka access routes in and out of Ali'i Drive. As for the Kahului Keaho Parkway, the Kuakini Highway backs up tremendously, both in the morning and in the afternoon, rush hour times, and we need more traffic corridors to get from north to south and south to north. These corridors are important, and we've been talking about them for 20 years. It's either time to find out a way to build these corridors or find alternative routes to get the traffic in and out of Kona. That's
So what do you ask?
so my proposal would be to invite the Director of the Department of Public Works to come to a meeting and give us an update on these two particular routes, Huakini Highway, and if there's any alternative to these routes, if there's any planning being done to figure out if we can't build the Kahului Keaho Parkway, what can we build?
So I've got this text you've distributed. What were you planning on doing with this? Is this just for our information or?
It's for our information, but it also says that we should invite the Director, Department of Public Works, to our meeting to update the community on the status of these two critically needed transportation corridors and plans to move forward.
So this would be like the text of the letter to
Yes.
them. Oh, I see.
Yeah, put some letterhead on it. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying it would be similar to what you folks have done before. Requesting, or usually it's testimony, but we can finalize this letter, distribute it and copy all signed. So
Got it.
that would be what the action is.
Any discussion on what RJ's proposed?
No, I think it'd be good to write them a letter and invite them to come and, you know, on our job description, we can have people from agencies come and give us updates on things that I think, like you said, these two things are highlighted in the CDP and it would be good to know if they have any plans to pursue them at all. So I think we should write them a letter and have them, ask them to come and talk to us. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I totally agree. It'd be good to know what the departments. Where they're at on these things and
If at all.
if at all, and if they have no plans to do them, I mean, I think it's leading into a later agenda item, but you know, our plan should be, you know, amended with that in mind, you know, if they have no plans to ever build these. So yeah, I think an update would be great, and I really support a letter to them. I hope they're susceptible to that. I don't think we've got anyone from Public Works talk to us yet, so. Yeah,
Can't recall anything recent.
yeah.
So we need a motion or something?
Yeah, we would need a motion. Do we want to make a motion, or RJ, do you want to make the motion?
Sure, I move that we invite the Director of Public Works or his representative to tell us where what the current planning is for these two roadways and what their plans are looking forward for traffic in Kona.
Okay, motion by RJ. Do we have a second?
Nancy will second it.
Okay, motion by RJ, seconded by Nancy. Is there any discussion on the motion? Charlotte, go for it.
Yeah, I was wondering, are there any alternative routes? RJ, do you know? Have you got anything in mind?
I don't know of any alternative routes, and that's why I'd like to be able to ask somebody that question.
Okay, so we can add that then to our inquiry as far as and to know what the status is of the Hawaiian community. Is there any way to take that temperature there as well?
That might be a question that, and I don't know, maybe others can answer that, but you know, I don't know if that's a question for Public Works or not. Yeah, I don't know. Shay's shaking his head. I don't know if you have something to say. It seems more like this is directed towards like plans from what the county's plans are, I guess. Yeah.
I mean,
So
the
I think
county
that-
plans would probably tell us or get us a sense of what the Hawaii community's plans or insights are. I'm sure we're gonna get feedback.
Sorry, Shane, do you want to add something?
So I think we have to be careful, like, there's like, we're not in charge of consulting with a particular community. But I do know that previously, and it was required to consult with lineal descendants that were directly impacted in the area. And I think that there's documentation that's embedded in all of the, like the EISs and the cultural impact assessments and all of that. Like, these are big, large documents that you can indulge yourself into those documents. But the when I was chairing this committee back when I was on the CDP prior, not a whole lot of the people were living at the time that was consulted. And I think there's just a few families that are still alive, like the Nahaleas, the Alapais, and the Nahaleas, Alapais. Oh my God, why am I blanking? Oh, Kipapas, Malia guys. They were the ones that were majorly impacted based on how the route was created. And I do know that it went from a 4-lane to a 2-lane. So it's already downsized as part of, I think you guys were asking alternative routes. Obviously we're on an island and West Hawaii has no routes. I think the alternative route is to go damage our forest if we need to alleviate traffic, Makai. And so I know that Kuakini is a state highway, and that would cause escheat or condemnation of property in order to widen that area. So these are just things that I know that I can pop up, but I think that what RJ is asking for is a refreshed opinion from the agency and possibly the CDP can advocate for a new traffic study for that area. As a South Kona resident, this is the reason why I'm asking for a South Kona addendum. I know that we had a testifier earlier, but I lived South Kona my whole life, 57 years. And I had to drive to Kailua Kona every day for work. And it took me an hour to hour and 15 minutes from Kealakekua to Kailua Kona every single day each way. And now we talk about quality of life. And this is what I want to discuss in the CDP is how do we help the residents from South who are still in transit to the North for jobs. Wasn't their fault that population was dumped in Ocean View. It's not their fault that the majority of the workforce are living in Ka'u and South Kona. And so when we're looking at our roads, the most highest accidents is our highway in South Kona. And of course, Queen Ka'ahumanu was considered another one, but everything in between is bottlenecked. And that's the conversation we gotta have. So I appreciate RJ's request and would 1000% support that we invite the Director of Public Works here.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Chair.
Nancy?
Yep.
I think if you read the transportation section of the CDP, it lists road priorities. If you just stick to the transportation chapter. And these two are definitely highlighted as priorities. So as far as what we're gonna lay on, if the director or someone from Public Works comes, I think we need to keep it specifically to that subject to begin the conversation. Okay, you guys, these two roads are priorities in this document. It's been a long time. What are you guys thinking? Where are you headed? You know, and keep it at that and not turn it into a big, huge, overwhelming discussion. Because I wouldn't even be surprised if whoever the current director of Public Works may not have any idea what's going on. So I think the letter should be very direct to this point that RJ's suggesting as a means of pursuing the beginning of the conversation. That's my opinion. And I support what RJ's suggesting.
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh.
Who's him?
Jen.
Oh, Janice. Sorry, I
Thank
can't see your
you.
hand raised hand over here.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, thank you, RJ, and everybody, and Shane for further enlightening everybody. I agree with Nancy about trying to keep it narrow. I also, I mean, just from having been involved for so long, just like thinking about the crux of the plan and how much we did focus and talk about what should be the core, structure, the skeleton of the plan and the region. I think it's really important to focus on those two projects as well. Because if that does change, and John alluded to that, there may be other things that we need to change as far as where we, TODs and other transportation issues, well, other issues, bigger issues even than just transportation. So thanks again for bringing it up. It's good to get into some specifics. Because again, like Nancy said, and with the whole plan, it's a big thing. There's so much. So at least if we could get, this one part sorted out, I think that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah, I definitely support getting some direction and bringing the plan, the public works department head, so that we can refresh ourselves or have him refresh ourselves on this particular roadway. But as Shane points out, and we all know, that's not just the bottleneck that exists now and may get worse depending on where the planning, the future plans are for development. I think this discussion should, at least this initial one, should be focused perhaps on just this one bottleneck. But I would like also the planning, the public works director to understand that we have more than just this issue to address. And I don't know if we do that in this letter, or we somehow kind of manage his expectations when he counts. But it's just, my point is that I think we have more than just one bottleneck. And speaking from South Kona, as she said, there's a bottleneck out there too, for those who don't travel too far south. And it's totally because the fastest growing districts have been Ocean View and Kona over the last several years, and there's been no improvement in the roadways, definitely from I can speak from Ocean View, into Kailua and into where the work center is. And having just recently been down in Puna, because my brother lives down inside of there, it's a mess getting out of that place too during traffic hour. It backs up like all the way. You get back all the way up to Volcano if you try to get down there during traffic time. So, and we're not part of the Hilo CDP, I will say, but I'm just thinking they've got a lot of stuff on their plate that we need to address, but this is probably where it should start, so I support it. I think it's a great idea, and perhaps someone will do.
Sorry, Janice, real quick. You're muted.
This is also why Bill 147 and other things that we're looking at are so important, because the reason why our workforce has to live so far from where work is because of inequitable housing costs. So I think that this is a symptom, a symptom of a really greater malady. and I think that's why we're all here. I think that's what the CDP is meant to address. It's all these bits and pieces that go together that are making a situation where we need more roads, but there'll never be enough roads ever if we don't address all the components that go with it. So thanks for letting me talk again.
Thanks, Janice.
Yeah.
Can I say something? I agree with her. It has to do with development. And when I was at one of those initial meetings way back 25 years ago, I heard John Ray say that, hey, all the workers can live out in Ocean View. This is over 20 years ago. They can live out in Ocean View, and all we have to do is build this wide freeway all the way through to help them get to work. That's not the end all solution. It has to do with development. And why aren't we having more development in town for the workers? For the workers, not for the rich guys, and that's all I see here. More and more of them. It's getting sickening. That's all.
Thank you, Josephine. Okay, I think we've discussed this enough. I'm gonna go ahead and call for the vote now. So on the motion to approve this letter and get it put up on letterhead, and I'll sign it and send it to the Department of Public Works to invite them or their representative to come to one of our meetings to update us on these things. Please vote in favor by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, all right, we will, Janice, I guess you're gonna get this up and then pass it on to me, and then I will send it out. Thank you, RJ, for bringing that to us. Okay. Move on to the next agenda item. Water resources, discussion regarding water resource planning and infrastructure considerations affecting the Kona CDP area. The AC may consider potential action, including requesting that the manager, chief engineer of the Department of Water Supply attend a future meeting to provide an overview of Kona's water resources, current planning efforts, and available public information resources. The time is 12:57. Business item 3 is now called to order. Is there anyone that wishes to testify on this agenda item? I don't see any testimony, so I'll close the testimony. Okay, and Nancy, sorry, do you want to start, or you want her to
Yeah,
start?
why don't- I think you initiated this as well, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, we have a series of RJ stuff.
In our recent history, there's been several wells that have gone out of service in Kona. I understand the Department of Water Supply has discussed developing additional wells in our district. And, there's several private entities that are considering, creating additional wells in our community. I think that we should send a letter to Keith Okamoto, the manager, chief engineer, Department of Water Supply, to ask him some pointed questions about, have we come up with a solution where we can be relatively assured that we're not gonna have wells out of service? Have they applied to the State Commission on Water Resources to create additional wells? If the Department of Water Supply succeeds in additional wells, how will the resulting water resources be allocated? And I'm wondering why we're encouraging private entities to dig wells for development that the community needs. I think that that's a function of government, and I think government should be doing that. And what kind of, if they are going to dig additional wells, what kind of prioritizing of that development of the water resource do they plan on? So, any development in Kona starts and begins with water. It's the first first hurdle you have to get over as a developer. And right now, the community has very little knowledge or insight as to what water is available and to whom, and who's going to get prioritized for water use. I can tell you myself from calling the engineering department for water on large land pieces that I've appraised, that you can call them and they'll tell you, oh yeah, we'll get back to you. Well, I've got some 9 months now that they haven't gotten back to me on. So that's my proposal.
Yes, Nancy.
I think this is one area where the Kona CDP is really lacking. If you look at the infrastructure chapter that addresses water, there's basically nothing there. And I was, especially at that point, I was very ignorant about the whole subject. And I think it says something about the Department of Water Supply should direct water toward TODs or words to that effect. And but I think all these questions are good questions, and they should have been questions that should have been addressed, in some form in the Kona CDP when we drafted it. And I know more probably about the water issue on the public trust side and the state side and the seaworm side than I know about how the county you know, the Department of Water Supply makes their decisions over their Kuleana with water, and so I think all these questions would be good. I would learn a lot if they actually came in and addressed these questions, since I don't have a clue, quite frankly, you know, on this level. The way the water decisions seem to happen makes me uncomfortable. It seems sort of mysterious, and there doesn't seem to be a logic to it. Maybe if they came and talked to us about it, we'd have a clear understanding. So I support writing a letter to, and actually including these as questions in the letter so they can do their homework before they show up here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we should include the questions because they are good questions to give them some time to prepare. Charlie,
Just some anecdotal things. Here in working with getting involved with the water well was quite interesting and eye-opening to myself too, and I think Jeff he would bear witness to this. The county, I'm not speaking for the county, but my impression is that they look at their responsibility as delivering water, not developing water. The development of the water belongs with the state, with CWAM. And because, when I say development, the access, because you have to have their permit to get the drill the well, right? And I think there hasn't been a good communication between, specifically in Kona,
Yeah.
between the availability of the resource, the use of the resource, speaking of water. And what the water well brought to people's attention is that there's also not a very good prioritizing how the water gets used. And, you know, people like the parks, the community, where the water goes. And there are some users, big users of water, that are not really returning that benefit to the community. So all of these questions are raised, not much of it is getting answered per se, but I think both the county and the state are trying to work towards something that is more in line with what the community wants. But the community has had very little voice in that. And this is what Nancy's saying in terms of coming out of the CDP. This has been almost up until now completely developed, driven by development, but needs for development. And the underlying thing in there is jobs. You know, it's not necessarily housing, what have you, it be housing for people to provide housing for people who have jobs or can pay for them, I think now. So, I'd like to have that discussion with the county too. It's not more just to ask them, you know, what are you doing? You know, how well are you working with the state and where they are in that relationship? Because they're interdependent. So the states sort of, this is why the MP was done, is really to find out all, for the state to determine not necessarily a priority of usage, but whether, one, there's enough water to meet the development, understand what the development is, and what are the impacts of water usage in total. And so I think the ANP, you know, we looked at cultural resources, they looked at pollution. I forget, there were two other things too that they were also looked at. You may remember, Jeff, it's.
Species or not, the abundance of species and stuff.
Yeah, so key
Pollution,
indicators.
There were four.
Yeah, there were four Hawaiian, yeah.
Hydrology.
Was
Yeah,
it-
the hydraulic.
yeah, hydraulic.
Excuse me?
Yeah. Wasn't it hydraulic?
Well, it
Hydraulic?
was hydrology, right?
Yeah,
Right. Thank you, guys. So that's the process they're going through right now. And that's put kind of like a little halt on issuing new permits because they're not comfortable doing that until there's more information on those impacts. And this was community driven. That was completely community driven. The community wants to know these things. They need to know these things. And the addition of priority of uses, because some of the water goes, as has been mentioned before, you know, to people who can afford to live here and not necessarily people who live here for the benefits of all that. So, the county has an element there, a piece of it, but I'm not sure that they're gonna get us all the way to where we wanna be. But there's another thing that's going on too that I think we may have mentioned here, but there's a company called Ocean Wells. And they're developing an desalination plant, which is going to be located about 1,000 feet down in the ocean and not on land, so it's got a very low impact. And they reckon they can do somewhere between 7 to 10 million gallons a day or an hour, so, yeah, an hour, and which would take care of most of the coastline.
How would they power that?
What's that?
It takes a tremendous amount of power. How are they gonna power that?
Well, see, most of the power is consumed through the osmosis process where you've got to push the pressure through the filters. Because they're at 1,000 feet low, the ocean is gonna
The
push it
pressure
through,
is there.
right? The only cost they're gonna have is to pump it up from that lower level. So there's all kinds of benefits for it. I've been working with the guys who are actually posing the development. Trying to keep them cognizant that there's Hawaiian issues involved with that too, but the technical aspects of it are very interesting. And so the 10 million gallons that they can put out would almost cover most of the coastline. What that would do is allow then the county not to have to pump so high in order to get their water. So it's going to reduce the county, and the county doesn't have to pump as much water from the source. That's going to reduce the county's costs in terms of electrical and reduce the cost of the water that they supply. So this is a discussion right now. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because if we talk to the county, these are things outside of Seaworm that they might be interested in as well in participating. They've already talked to Ocean Wells already, and they're very receptive to it. So it's I think having a county explain what he can do, but there's so much stuff going on outside too that's going to impact their ability to do the service. But they certainly should be. We certainly should, I think, be in communication with them too, because the water development is very important.
Yeah. Real quickly, one of the things that I've seen with the water resource development and delivery is that it's a very opaque system. Who gets water and who doesn't is not, there's no firm rules that I've ever seen. It seems to go to whoever has the deepest pockets, and that bothers me. I think water is a public resource and it should go where it's needed. And I think these questions are important to ask.
Then they should be.
And I was pretty naive when we did the Kona CDP, because it made sense to me that if we were gonna designate growth opportunity areas, smart growth, that would be a priority for where we get the water. And like RJ says, like Palamanui and even Liliuokalani below Target, where there's TODs, and even the property next door, the McLeans, they wanted to do a TOD there, but they couldn't get the water.
Yeah.
But those are areas that the CDP targeted as where development should occur, but if they can't get the water, and then we commented on that bill that was gonna add residential to the light industrial district. The understanding was they already knew they were gonna get water. Why were they gonna get water? All of it was a mystery to me. So I think just from the county's Juliana's perspective, I would appreciate
Oh,
this
absolutely.
discussion.
Yeah. Because they're in the middle of it all, actually, but they don't have much control upstream. And downstream, I think they have more control, zoning, pollution, the cesspools are still there. In some of the parts of the lower line areas. So I think there's a lot of benefit for us to have that conversation with them. If for no other reason, to let them know too that, we're very interested in it as well. The community is not bothered. We're not we're not standing by, we wanna be more active, and more helpful for them too, more supportive.
Well, we want to be able to encourage the right kind of, everybody says we need more housing, well, if we can't do it in a sensible manner, and that includes water, you know, you can't
Yeah.
afford to do a high density urban housing if there's no guarantee that they're gonna be able to get water, it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Let me
So-
give you an example. The water project that came down from, well, I forget the gentleman that developed it. But people bought into it before it was developed. And not too long ago, because if you bought into that water system, those water units belong to you and you could sell them to anybody else that bought into that water system. Somebody recently transferred 100 water units to Coquille.
Mhm.
Well, once again, what I'm saying is that sometimes water goes to the deepest pockets,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure that's the way that it should function.
Good discussion.
Yeah, is there any other discussion on this? Okay, yeah, I'm in big support of doing this. Yeah, it'd be great to learn more about all these, and thank you for all the discussion. That was great. Okay, I'm gonna call for the vote, or did we motion?
I had a motion, but no second.
Oh. Remotion it, let's do a remotion.
Okay, I move that we invite the Keith Okamoto from the manager, chief engineer for the Department of Water Supply for the County of Hawaii to a future meeting for discussion of the questions 1 through 7 that I have detailed in letter.
We have a second.
A second.
A motion by RJ, seconded by Charlie to submit a letter requesting that Keith Okamoto or representative come to one of our meetings and discuss the questions RJ has outlined. Any more discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes.
Thanks
Good.
for bringing these up, RJ.
Yeah, thank you, RJ.
Very related to, you know, why we spent so much time trying to put a CDP together in the first place.
And a pre thank you to planning staff for helping draft all these letters. that we'll be sending out. Okay, we'll move on to number 4, Kona CDP refresher and future comprehensive review process. Discussion regarding a refresher on the Kona CDP, including its purpose, priorities, and role in guiding AC work. The AC may also discuss and brainstorm preliminary considerations for a future comprehensive review process. Time is 1:14. Business item 4 is now called to order. Anyone wish to testify on this item before we get started? Okay, seeing none. I guess RJ, do you want to start this off again? Since I know it was
Sure.
Yeah.
The community development plan says that one of our powers is to make recommendations on interim amendments to the CDP. The CDP was created 18 years ago. The community has changed drastically. And I propose that we go through the community development plan section by section over the next 8 meetings and propose amendments that would update the CDP.
Okay, any discussion?
I wouldn't want to start like a comprehensive review that, you know, we talked about it with the director, you know, about starting the review. You brought it up when the planning director came in terms of the plan being over 10 years old and him saying that, you know, the South Hilo plan was the priority for me to do the comprehensive review would be, you know, to involve consultants providing us with current information and to work with and all that. What I would support is kind of well, I think the word in the agenda that was used was sort of a refresher, because I think it's been so long now that a lot of people don't even know what's in the plan. So even before even looking at it from the sense of recommending amendments, because then when you get into when you get into the idea of looking at the plan for amendments, it's gonna be a broader public process. The CDP was very much supported because it was so inclusive in terms of the enormous public participation. And I don't think the few of us sitting here, you know, have what it takes to represent the entire community. But I do think it would be useful to try to figure out some practical purpose to remind ourselves what's in it and have a public discussion and go through it. I don't know how to express that. To refresh ourselves and to invite people to come and, you know, what's in this plan? What are we missing? What shouldn't be there anymore? More maybe, but maybe not necessarily for us to make the amendments, but to start making lists of to prepare ourselves for the comprehensive review. I guess that's maybe how I'm feeling about it. And maybe even things that we've overlooked that we could have been working on that we just forgot were there, that, oh, hey, this is cool, let's try to work on this, you know. But not to take up on like a comprehensive review with the idea that we have what it takes to amend the plan. I don't know if anybody else, if I'm making any sense or not.
Well, there was a lot of work that went into it. And so I think there's a lot of things in there that are still probably, relevant to today, but the change in environment, that certainly it has occurred over the years. My recollection of going through the CDP in the very early stages was there was just so much attention given to what's good for the community, including all its cultural resources. There were huge pages about how you're going to protect all your cultural resources. These are all aspirational types of goals. They weren't in a certain place. They were the preambles to all the sections in there. And I don't think we've lived up to that. Honestly, I don't think the CDP has been its goals have been met. And but I don't think a review is necessarily going to fix that, because I think the aspirational goals are still really good. That's what the community wanted at that time. I don't think the community has changed all that much. I think the people who live in the community have changed, but the goals, I think, would probably likely be the same. But there are some spots that can be improved, I think, and I couldn't point them out to you. We did this once, I think. I think maybe Shane, you were on you're on the
I
committee
was
with
the
myself
chair,
too.
yeah. I was the
we
chair of
went, so
that
you might,
subcommittee.
please help me here, because you probably have a better memory of all the, there is a whole list of stuff that we wanted to go through too. This was, geez, when was this? 2016 or something, I forget.
Yeah, it
So
was around there.
clearly 10
Yeah.
years ago.
So
Yeah.
you did a review then?
Yeah, yeah.
How did you go about it?
We went section by section with Bethany was she's kind of guiding us in that process.
How long
And
did it take?
Huh?
How long did it take to get through the whole
A
plan?
long time, because the planning
What does
department
that
wasn't
mean?
always.
A week or a month or a year or?
Yeah, it was a while because they weren't always ready. They weren't always like the staff was always busy.
You guys, I don't remember. I mean, Shane, I've been to all those meetings. I don't remember a comprehensive
Yeah.
review.
Do you remember
of the-
going up? Do you remember going up to Honolulu? We had one of them up there.
Yeah, but that was an amendment process, part of the amendment process, and that was just that one amendment. Like there was never a comprehensive review of the whole plan. That was just
I was the policy and planning co-chair for that subcommittee that was
Yeah.
created by Curtis Tyler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
that, but it was very Menini, like it was really narrowly focused.
We went through the whole thing. We went through the whole document.
Oh, well, I guess that what came out of it then was just when we went over that meeting in Hulualoa with the shalls and the mays, that was, I think, four points, 4 amendments. I think that was, but not like a comprehensive, I mean, maybe you guys, but not the rest of the committee. We didn't.
Well, I disagree, Janice, because I did a lot of work.
No, I'm not saying you didn't. I'm not saying.
And I don't think it was just 4 amendments. I think there were more than just 4 amendments.
Well,
There
it
was
was
a
just that
lot.
one time that we voted on it. I mean,
No,
I
there
wasn't
was
at your
more than
subcommittee
that.
members.
I don't think you were even on there. I think it was
I
Barbara
was.
guys.
No, I,
Sorry, RJ?
Yeah.
Point of order, Ken, it seems like we're traveling further than we need to go here.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
Chair,
we-
can I say something and sum up
Yes.
my part of the discussion, please?
yes,
That
please.
I support RJ's request. I also would be I would also want to make sure that I agree with Uncle Charlie that our community has not changed that drastically in behavior, except that there's more development and more people. And so I also want to share that in that comprehensive process that we did back then, we included a lot of traditional and ecological knowledge-based stuff into the document as well. And so you'll find things that would support the Native Hawaiian rights in our CDP, because it wasn't there initially, the first time. So there was an kind of an amendment, but I do want to mention that I support RJ's request. I'm not against it. I just want to make sure that we're not going way out of scope from the general plan as well. Because I think that was the conflict, Chair, that all the CDPs were operating autonomously and was conflicting with the general plan. So the planning department had a hard time executing some of these ordinances, especially when it came to different districts. And that I remember came from, what his name, Michael Yee, when he was the planning director at that time.
If I have come, yeah, I don't think the intention is really to change at this point, RJ, and
No.
I may be wrong. I think it's for us to go back and through review and more to Nancy's point, refresh ourselves as well and see maybe where there are weak spots. But
I
should we go
agree.
through the plan with any intention to change anything in there, I think we still gotta go back to the community.
Right,
You know, I don't think we're.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna sit here and say we're gonna change this one or this one, but if there's weak points in it, we certainly should point those out, you know, that, you know, that over time that has changed the community, because I think we'll find that the community has changed relative to the CDP, but not necessarily in its aspirations and its goals.
No, yeah.
And what I think that we're misunderstanding what I was proposing. I was saying we should do a comprehensive review.
Yeah.
Go through it section by section so that we understand it. If there's shortfalls in it, we address them. And we only recommend.
Correct.
Changes. We're not
Yeah.
gonna make changes, recommend changes. To set us up in a position where when we can do a comprehensive review.
Yeah.
With proper studies and stuff, we have a place to start.
I agree with that, RJ.
I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah.
Well, I am.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
conflict to the
Yeah.
proposal.
Nancy?
I think Shane's still talking.
Oh, Shane, do you have more to add? Sorry.
Sorry, no, I agree to the proposal. There's no conflict to it.
Okay,
I don't have any conflict to it.
thank you, Shane. Nancy, did you have something you want to add?
I'm just a little concerned that it's not represented to the public as a comprehensive review, because I think that would be dishonoring the community at large. I think, to me, this is gonna be more of an internal I like the word refresher because it kind of puts it in context. So, because then we'll be more prepared when it is time for the comprehensive review. We will ourselves will be more skilled to take that on, but I think this should be a more limited, like what's here and what's getting our attention at this point. I guess I'm not necessarily in support of the motion until it's more clarified, I guess, as far as I'm concerned. Cause I don't want to misrepresent that we're doing something that I think the community needs to participate in and. So I think we have to have, it has to be all of us have to agree more clearly of what it is we're intending to do.
Okay, so
Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Jane?
When is the review up? When are we due for a review?
Was doing 8 years ago.
Yeah, I think we're well over the point, yeah.
And the director came, were you at the meeting? The director came to Shane and
Yeah,
he said they wouldn't start that until after they do the Kilo CDP. They wouldn't put money toward the actual legal comprehensive review until then. But so it's gonna be a while. So this would be something sort of refresher in lieu of that prior to that starting.
I see what you're saying, Nancy. Yeah, wow.
Can I make a comment?
Sorry,
Sorry,
let's let Charlotte
sorry,
go
Shane.
first.
I thought you were done. Sorry.
All right, sorry, we'll
No,
Charlotte.
sorry, Chair. I'm good. Yeah,
Okay,
Janice,
thanks, Jane.
I'm good, Chair.
Charlotte, you go first. You haven't heard from you yet.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to identify the areas where we need to concentrate on making some amendments. And that's, I think, if it's clearer to us, then we can bring the public in at that point. Otherwise, we're really not very prepared, to really refresh and go through everything. I bet there are some things that will really stand out that we can make note of. It's kind of a slower process to do it that way instead of doing something very comprehensive from the start. But I think, Nancy, you're right. I don't think that we have enough of the public involved in that. But I think that we kind of have to have our heads wrapped around it first anyway.
I agree with that.
Thanks, Charlotte. Janice, go for it.
What I was gonna say is I think what you guys did today was partly what we really need, and that was talking about the roadway. Like we know there's so much that is good in the plan, and like Charlie, well, I think everyone said there's a lot there that's gonna be probably forever, that is universally a good thing and timeless. And so things like, looking at those roadways, which are part of the plan, those are the things that I think are really important and the way to get the plan enacted. I mean, we're never going to do it as one big chunk. And so I think what Nancy's saying is critical. And I think that going at it, like digging in and saying this is a big review it's just really feels unnerving. And I think she put it perfectly. I'm not going to even add to that. But I think that as we, like the Kona Open Space Network we've gone through that process. We're going to have a Kona there's going to be a meeting, I think in September or October, for the public to be involved. I mean, I think when people start seeing things happening, that's when the whole plan will become relevant. And so I think that, like RJ found, brought up the roads. I think that's what the committee members are here for. I think Charlotte bringing up the tree city. I mean, that's part of the plan too, is having protected trees as tree lined streets. And so, I mean, I think that you're all doing that in your, day-to-day CDP action committee life. So yeah, I think a review of it would be fantastic, but I think that going through it with eye to change things as the focus it might be better to just say, what can we get done that's in the plan? That might be more important since there is so much good and it came from so many thousands of people.
Thanks, Janice. RJ.
couple things. The motion that I made was we moved to start a comprehensive review of the community development plan to determine if amendments to the plan are needed and should be proposed. I didn't say to make amendments to the proposal. Secondly, part of our duties our duties are outlined in the community development plan, and part in the statute that created it. One of our duties is to review and make recommendations on interim amendments to the CDP. That's one of our duties. I'm not proposing anything that we're not supposed to do.
Yeah, I don't, oh, sorry.
Are you still talking?
Nope.
Were you gonna say something?
No, you go ahead.
I might opposed to the word comprehensive for you, because that's a legal trigger. That has specific legal connotations in the code. And, so I think using some other word to downsize it, like a refresher or something.
Comprehensive
would be that- A refresher review or something. Comprehensive review is like what's gonna happen once the consultants are hired and, you know, that. It has the legal connotation in the code.
Okay, well, let's take
So that
comprehensive
word
out.
makes me very uncomfortable.
Let's take comprehensive out.
And maybe put a refresher review or something.
Okay.
The other thing that I wondered that maybe we should talk to staff about and I'm still more inclined to defer this myself, is ask the staff for their input, because they'd end up getting sucked into this, and I don't want to put a bunch of work on them, but we would need their support if this was gonna have any. It seems like I'd like to come back with a clearer definition of exactly it is. What we'd be doing, how we'd be doing it, and how long we anticipate it would take, instead of just saying, oh, we're gonna start a refresh review of the plan. It's just seems too broad to me.
There's a, one of my favorite books is Alice in Wonderland. She gets to a point where the caterpillar's there and she goes, I don't know where to go. And he says, start at the beginning, go all the way through the middle, and when you get to the end, stop. Most things in life are that simple. You have to start at the beginning, go all the way through the middle, and when you get to the end, stop. We need to start someplace. It's been 18 years.
Well, there'd be ways of going about it. I think it could consume all of, knowing me, it could be totally consuming. Do you guys have anything to say?
I think it's a
Yeah.
good discussion, with Mariam and Bethany and the CDP team, I guess, as a whole. But I hear what you're saying, like that would be good to know for us as we plan the agendas for the rest of the year, because I'm thinking there will probably be some action from each section that you'd be reviewing, right? So kind of how to strategize that and see what our manager's perspective would be on all of this. I think it'd be nice to have that conversation, because we haven't talked about potentially the actions that could result from having it on the agenda we could talk about that, like that would be helpful, I think. But I hear both sides, like it would be, I think that's what we've suggested to other action committees when the general plan was before it got to council. Some other action committees were also asking, when can we start the update cycle for our CDP? And so, yeah, it's come up, and I think it's a larger conversation. So it would be a good idea.
RJ, just to help me out, is there an example in the CDP that you think we should be updating? Because I have a few things in my mind that are in there already that we're not doing it, and you can't update something that we're not doing. I suppose we should just do what it says in there. You know, so I was just wondering if you had an example.
For instance, public
talking about-
utilities.
Yeah.
As Nancy said, they didn't spend a whole lot of time on water.
Oh, yeah, so include that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Housing.
There's a lot in there about housing.
There's a lot in there about housing, but I think where housing can be developed, what type of housing we're looking for, those types of things have changed in the last 18 years.
Yeah, so there's a clause in there too about how we can ask the planning director to come here anytime. They're supposed to send stuff to a design. What was it called? The design, not a committee.
Design review.
The design
There's
board.
still a panel on the
Right.
office up there.
Yeah. And I suggest some of the things that are concerning yourself now 18 years or however long after, it's because we haven't completed some of those things, which are very basic, you know, we've. I don't know how many times we petitioned, you know, to get more information from the planning director and, you know, the one previous, this one was pretty reluctant to do any of that. So we can review that, but I certainly like to get better enforcement on the stuff that's in there too, before we get too, you know, too frustrated over the fact that we can't get stuff. Well, I support what you're
But
saying.
without doing a review,
Oh, no, I get that. But, you know, I don't know how you update something that we're not doing already that's in there. I think we should be pointing those out as well and not just trying to, you know, update it. I think there's some things in there that are mentioned that are really good that we should maybe stress too. You know,
well,
because
that might
we're
be a matter of the squeaky wheel. If we're reviewing it, we bring it to the
Yeah.
attention again and again, maybe we get better attention.
Yes, Nancy.
Share, I think, but it should be viewed now primarily as a review. And then if updates become apparent as a result of the review, I don't think the goal should be to update, the goal should be to review.
Yeah.
And then there, as a product of that review, we might sit here and say, okay, here's a list of things that came up as a result of the review. The housing chapter was done by a consultant and almost nothing in there has been even attempted.
Yeah.
And maybe some of them were impractical, but I think we need to go through it all and look at it objectively. And with the idea that at the end of the process, we might come up with suggested updates, but updating shouldn't be the purpose.
I think setting some time aside on every agenda to go through portions of it as a review is probably a good thing just for us.
Yeah.
It'll make us better people as well. And then if we do discover things in there that we feel strongly about, we can go ahead and maybe have a deep discussion on that. But I do think putting it on the agenda, you know, regularly so that we not update, but review portions, I think that's a good idea. But I can't go in there right now without the review to recommend any updates.
Right,
Obviously,
well,
none
that's
of
what I was trying to
Yeah,
say.
none of us can, I think.
Yeah.
So we gotta probably review it first. And then I would be not comfortable without going back to the community though, you know, in terms of were there anything in there that we would like to see change. Ensure that we have the community's blessing, however that might happen, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think just doing the review would be a good thing for us to do and set aside some time on the agenda so that we do it, because I don't think we have, you know, since the last time we reviewed it, it was for specific points as well. But the larger any larger changes, we have to wait for the general plan anyway, is that, I mean, that's what,
Not
The Hilo
necessarily.
CDP.
yeah,
Yeah.
But he said he's not gonna put any money toward the comprehensive review until the Hilo plan is done.
okay.
And it'd like invest in new studies or anything. I was trying to think of two-part, like change it to start a refresher review with, and come back to the committee with a more detailed scenario of how it would be accomplished. And with staff input.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I was only saying, proposing amendments, but, well, obviously a proposal is not the end result for the amendment. So what if we changed it to, I move we start what kind of review?
Refresher?
Refresher review of the community development plan to determine. Or not to determine, but, development plan to. Update
I
the
think you-
committee on its contents.
We're
And see if
basically
any-
trying to make a hit list, right?
And see if any needed changes should be proposed.
And I support what Charlie said about limiting it on the agenda to like a certain amount of time, because like I said, it could be overly consuming of our meetings and we would get anything else done.
Charlotte, do you want to say something? Sorry.
Oh, I just said, it's a review basically to see what we haven't done yet on the CDP, just like Charlie said. And we're basically just creating a hit list of things that we need to look at more closely.
Or remember what's there. I mean, to me, it'd be a lot of
That
it's
too.
been done. And for people that some people haven't even read the plan once, So, I think a refresher review is good and it's not just what may need updating of, maybe opportunities that have been sitting there all along that nobody remembered are there and that we should have seized upon a long time ago. So it's not just saying, oh, we don't need this anymore, let's change it. It's more like, wow, why haven't we done something with this all these years? So it works both ways.
Could I make a quick comment?
Sure, Dennis.
Yeah, I think that Nancy is hyper aware, and I feel like this too, of just, you don't want to open a can of worms that just get, like, we want public input. That's what this is all about. And at the same time, I think going back to the beginning and like everybody was saying, are we prepared? Are you going to be prepared for, what you might get if you make this seem too definitive? So I think the refresher, without even mentioning a review, just refreshing ourselves by going through the plan and leaving the time, like Nancy said, a specific amount of time, or Charlie said it, to do that at each meeting is safe, will keep things moving along because there's a lot of other things you're going to want to do along the way, and it could just become a big distraction and get to be more of a mess than you really want to take on, and the planning department too. But I just think how it was written on the agenda seemed really good, and it was very inviting in a positive way, and I just thought that language really worked well and felt good. Thanks.
Thanks, Janice.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we want to move forward with this? Nancy, you seem to want to defer things. I think.
Well, how it was written on the agenda, and take the word comprehensive. Take future comprehensive review out, undertake a CDP review, to reacquaint ourselves with the plan of opportunities and, potential changes that, and limiting it to a specific amount of time on the agenda, something like that.
And is this something we would want staff to be involved with, or just a discussion amongst ourselves? Because we want staff involved.
I mean, they've got a lot on their plates. They have to write a whole other CDP.
Yeah.
What, like, if I could,
Yeah, please.
I think like the agenda wording is, I'm glad that it was received well, because I think during the chair and vice chair check-in, we discussed, we don't want to open Pandora's box, right? So we want to be careful how we word this, because I think it's a great idea, and I think that's what we were trying to pitch to the other ACs. If they wanted to start reviewing their own CDPs, as the general plan was in council, right? Because they were all told that, no, we're not going to initiate any comprehensive reviews until after the general plan is done, which makes sense. So I think that was actually the advice that was given almost a year ago or more. So none of the other action committees have proposed doing that yet. So I think it would be nice to have this refresher on the agenda as a standing item. And I'm not sure where you guys want to start, but I think that we would leave that up to you, and if there is an opportunity for us to, I guess, get more information for you or talk to the director or management about certain things, like that's where we could step in. But we could leave this to how you want to do this. So I just wanted to
Okay.
for that.
Thank you, Janice.
Do you have anything to say?
No, I'm curious. I mean, it sounds like we're all in agreement about, I think, the idea of this. And I'm just wondering how we want to move forward. Do we like the order that RJ laid out in this, in what he wrote? We want to start doing this next meeting.
I guess I'm not ready to accept what he wrote, because I think it's too direct. I mean, I think what's on the test, it should be
Yeah.
left more open to what's on the number 4 on the agenda, with the taking comprehensive review out, and more, make it a little bit more open at this point. And, we may start it and decide, to organize the process differently once we get started. I don't think we could put them and with, like we've been saying also, with the idea that it be a limited amount of time on each agenda.
Yeah. I was looking specifically at the sections that he divided up towards the bottom. That's the way we would want to move forward with it,
Yeah, we
section
could-
by section.
Yeah, well, that's, we can go through the documents to, like he said, starting from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and I put them in the order that they got. Didn't change the order at all.
So do you want to come up with a draft, phrasing of the amendment?
Phrasing of the motion?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so I guess I'm wondering, do we need a motion today? Or is this something we're
If
just
it
gonna put
was
on
good
the?
on the agenda, we need. Otherwise, it can't be on the agenda.
That's not true. I don't think, because we put all your other stuff on there, all the stuff on there without it.
Yeah, I don't think, but I think during the chair and vice chair check-in, we said this could just be a discussion, and then we can
Yeah.
work towards. If we wanted to start with an element of the Kona CDP, come prepared to the next meeting to kind of reintroduce it, maybe have a back and forth discussion on it. And if there are things you identify as areas where there's opportunities to update it, or maybe you want to check with the adopted general plan to see if, because I think that's also helpful as new general plan was adopted. There's opportunities to kind of, a lot was taken from the Kona CDP and integrated into the general plan. So that might also be helpful, and it will probably come about during your discussions in refreshing on the Kona CDP. I'm sure we'll find those areas of consistency, which is helpful for everyone as this new plan is adopted. So you don't need a motion, but it's up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this idea of moving forward, though, section by section and talking about it, having an in-depth discussion is a good one. I think having a plan for how to move forward is good. I don't necessarily mean we have to have it today, but having kind of a general, like, this is what we're gonna do in the coming months. So planning is also aware that you can.
I'm just wondering if it's because today we had road priorities and water on the agenda. The infrastructure be a good starting place, like it doesn't, and I think it's up to you on how you wanted to structure the refresher of the plan. But I'm wondering if maybe if we do hear back in a timely manner, like that could go nicely.
Yeah.
And we can work offline too, as long as we reach an agreement about this.
Yeah.
I think once we start, the real comprehensive review is gonna be when it's important to examine it with the general plan.
Yeah.
I think right now, we're just trying to reacquaint ourselves with what's in the existing document.
Any other discussion on this? How are you feeling?
I still think that one of our duties is to review and make recommendations to the interim amendment. To CDP, so I think we're neglecting our duties. But if you guys don't wanna move forward, I can see that too.
Yeah, I don't kind of see it that way, that we're neglecting our duties. I think we're working up to be better and more responsive to our duties. Because, I don't have the CDP off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've gone through it.
Well, that's why we should review it.
Yeah, but I think that's what we're concerned about, in terms of how we work that, and having it on the agenda as a refreshing would be similar to having it on as a review, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I could also reach out to core council and see if Jean has any suggestions on how we word this.
Yeah.
And even Bethany as well.
Yeah.
To explain the intent behind this and how we can safely go about it for the rest of the year, if that's helpful.
Yeah, that'd be really
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we agendize it as a review. We're gonna invite the public.
The review has a connotation too.
Right.
That's why I think we need to,
Yeah,
like the general plan review was a definite legal process. Where there was an announcement in the paper and it was a start button on a legal process. And
Right.
but I really do think we benefit from refreshing ourselves with what's in it and, so I'm really in support of that basic comment. It's just.
Can
Okay.
we maybe call it an overview and discussion?
Yeah, something like that is,
Yeah, I think we should plan on putting this on the agenda, definitely next agenda. I don't know, starting this refresher, whatever we call it, on the next agenda.
maybe we should talk about it one more meeting and see if staff or core council has an idea.
Okay.
And rather than saying that we're starting it next.
Okay.
Is that all right? And we can refine the vision.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I think
we're all in
us
agreement on
us and the public would benefit from reacquainting ourselves with the plan.
Yeah.
I'm just going to reiterate one more time that the statute that sets up this committee says that part of our duties are to review the word that we're fighting over and make recommendations on interim amendments to the CDP. Above that, it says monitor the progress and effectiveness of the CDP. These are things we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see this as a path moving towards that.
if I can just offer a friendly amendment of the language, maybe to put something together, and don't go into the details that you have, and I don't mean to leave them out, but I mean to be a little bit more general. To better perform their duties and responsibilities of the CDP Action Committee under County Code 16-6. That discussion will begin on refresher discussions on the CDP will be agendized regularly or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we can leave that open,
Yeah,
but we are calling out that we have the duties to do these things too.
And I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I don't think we're saying we're gonna accomplish those right away, though. We're gonna refresh ourselves and then get to that point.
and mainly the need is just because of so many years have gone by, we ended up,
I think,
way beyond the
Yeah.
deadline.
I think it's time. I think it's a good idea. Don't wanna raise the public's expectations too soon.
Okay, any more discussion on this one? None, I think we have a path forward. Thank you all for discussion. Thank you, RJ, for the last three. You did a lot for this meeting. Really appreciate it. Okay,
Thank you, RJ.
we'll move on to agenda item 5, Bill 147 update. Update on recent planning commission hearings regarding Bill 147 related to transient accommodations. Followed by discussion deliberation regarding the Kona CDP AC's prior position on Bill 147. The AC may review related testimony included in the meeting packet and may consider authorizing the chair or another designated committee member to provide oral testimony at the upcoming Weaver Planning Commission meeting to clarify the AC's position and respond to prior testimony. The time is 1:55. Business item 5 is now called to order. Is there anyone that wishes to testify on this business item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and start off this discussion. So Nancy and I both attended the Weaver Planning Commission meeting. I gave the AC's testimony, and Nancy followed up with some some clarification and add on to it. While we were there wasn't a lot of discussion on our testimony, so we ended up leaving, but then I watched the meeting after it got posted, and Councilmember Kimball really is pushing the planning commission to make a ruling based on our testimony on the issue of unhosted vacation rentals in RM. She provided some written testimony, which I believe is attached to the meeting packet. She kept a very neutral stance on it, but laid out what it would look like in code if we were to remove vacation rentals from RM. Unhosted vacation rentals from multifamily housing. Basically, kind of the kicker line, where is that? Is that she would put in section 25-4-C that they would only be allowed in RM districts if it was in operation prior to the effective date of this ordinance. Director Darrow was also there, and he said he either agreed with what I couldn't tell if he said he agreed with us or he just agreed with what Councilmember Kimball was saying, but they both at least took a stance of not pushing against our testimony and really pushing to get Leeward to answer the question or respond to it and make a decision on it. Other discussion that was related was one of the commissioners was bringing up the study that was conducted by the county that said that only 4% of people would switch their short-term vacation rentals to long-term rentals. And Councilmember Kimball responded to that by, saying that this isn't about just converting vacation rentals to rentals, right? It's about the general inflationary pressure on properties that unhosted vacation rentals provide. So I drafted up we worked on some testimony to respond to this. I say but Nancy wrote a lot of it too. That is kind of just clarifying our stance and agreeing with supporting what Councilmember Kimball testified to them about her language. And she only addressed the RM, she didn't address the CN. She said she missed it, but she just told orally to the committee that all you need to do is remove CN because it's not an allowable use currently. The other thing that Nancy brought up is that they want to expand it also to CDH, which is commercial downtown Hilo. And we felt that was maybe something that should be that should wait for them to do that they shouldn't expand this use into CDH until Hilo does their community development plan update. Until the future South Hilo community development plan is adopted. I think that's it. I'm pretty excited about it. I came out of watching that meeting actually really stoked because my worry was that they just weren't going to address our testimony. I'm very stoked that Councilmember Kimball is really asking them to make a decision on this, and that she took a pretty neutral stance on it. It wasn't fighting against it, and provided the draft language for what that would look like. I think that was really helpful to our testimony, very complimentary to it. So that's what I have today, and I have just some testimony. We're not gonna be able to submit this written because we're already past deadline. This next meeting is going to be in a couple days. But if we can approve some new testimony, I'll go ahead and read it in orally. And Thursday, yeah. Thursday's when the meeting's going to be. Yeah. I guess before we continue the discussion, I'll make a motion to submit this testimony to have me read it in orally at the Thursday meeting of the Leeward Planning Commission.
Second.
Okay, motion by myself, seconded by Nancy. I don't know if that's probably fine. Okay, any discussion on the motion?
You're gonna hand the written testimony as well as oral?
I won't be there. I'll have to attend on Zoom.
Well, maybe I can ask staff this, we're in a really tight time frame on this. The meeting is on Thursday, then I'm gonna attend in person, and he's gonna be at work, so he has to attend in Zoom. But watching the Leeward Planning Commission meeting in the past, they're willing to take candid out testimony. I don't think the council does that, but the planning commission does. Would it be too much to ask if we pass this today, if you could have it, him sign it so that I could print it out on my computer and take it to the meeting on Thursday? Is that too rushed?
No, it's not too much to ask. I can, when we get back to Hilo, I can route it to John for signature. I can also just submit it to the LPC testimony email, even if it's submitted like today, which is technically.
It'll still be part of the record, but I
Yeah,
was making
I
a
can
point of
also-
saying, so it'd be good to
Yeah.
submit it.
Yeah, I think it's good regardless to get it in, and if you could testify on Zoom, that would be excellent. But I can do that.
Okay,
It's not
thank
too
you. That'd be great. It's a little bit pushed time
Yeah.
wise, but we didn't have a choice, you
No
know.
problem, yeah. And thank you for providing the letter itself, like that's a huge help to us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can do that.
The interesting thing about, council member Kimball's testimony is when John gave our testimony, we didn't come up with the draft language. We just said we should just continue having short-term vacation rentals in our unhosted vacation rentals in RM district. And she came up with the actual amendment, which is actually enhances what we were suggesting.
I saw that and was like pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to point out.
I have a question and an observation. Question is, it says that people with existing STVRs can continue that use as a grandfathered use, I think, right?
Mhm.
But what happens upon sale? Does the STVR permit transfer to the next buyer? Because one way that you would eliminate the number of STVRs would be is that upon sale, it's the end of that use.
The law currently reads that they're transferable.
They are transferable. Okay, and then my other observation is they said that you'd only reduce the number of vacation rentals 4%. That is true so long as that's transferable, because what's happening is a lot of offshore buyers are buying units because they want to use them as vacation rentals. If that wasn't transferable, you would reduce the demand and prices would go down.
Yeah, and Councilmember Kimball did a good job explaining this to the commissioners also. Of the general inflationary pressure of short-term vacation rental investments.
This doesn't speak specifically to this motion, but I looked into something after our last meeting that you brought up about the enforcement. They passed ordinance 2550 last year, but it hasn't gone to effect yet. And that's the enforcement part. And it actually says that the host will be penalized if they advertise a unit that hasn't been registered.
Okay.
So that addressed what you brought up at the last.
Oh,
meeting.
good.
But it doesn't go into effect till this September, and they keep pushing it back.
Any other discussion on this proposed testimony? If not, I'll call for the vote then. Okay, all those in favor of submitting this testimony to Lever Planning Commission, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, thank you all. Thank you all for continuing for all of our work on this. I think it's pretty exciting to see where this will go forward, and really stoked for the upcoming meeting. Okay, we will move on to our last business item. Item number 6, Holomua Marine Initiative, request for presentation. Discussion regarding the Holomua Marine Initiative and whether the Kona CDP AC should request a future informational presentation from the State of Hawaii Division of Aquatic Resources. Presentation of committee members better understand the initiative and its potential relationship to the Kona CDP goals, priorities, and whether the committee may wish to consider further recommendations or appropriate action at a later meeting. Time is 2:05. Business item 6 is called to order. Is there any testimony on this business item? Seeing none. I'm not sure. Is this you, Charlie?
I'm gonna give the credit to Shane,
Okay.
because he's the one who came up with sort of that action, that specific action. So, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, Shane, do you wanna talk about this?
I think it's pretty straightforward. I feel like the reason why we worded it this way was so that the CDP members could become directly informed of what Holomua is and how it's related to, or how it could be, or is related to the CDP's work. And so basically, this motion would be calling for us to bring in an expert from Department of Aquatic Resources to share what Holomua is about. And then the CDP would then have the opportunity to be informed and make a decision. So if with that, I'd like to make a motion. Shoot, I don't have it up right now, sorry. But for item number, what is that, 6?
Yeah. Motion for a request for a presentation.
Yeah,
Okay, motion by Shane. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Charlie to request a presentation from someone at DAR to give a presentation on. Any discussion on this? Do you guys have someone in mind that would be good to reach out to, or we just want us to like? draft
yeah,
a
the
letter?
West Hawaii, there's a West Hawaii regional person. His name is Chris Teague. His office is down by Honokoha Harbor.
Shane, I might suggest maybe yourself or myself call Chris, as opposed to maybe sending him, we could send him a letter as well. But he's probably gonna be surprised at where it's coming from and why it's coming
Yeah.
from. So I thought maybe we'd give him a verbal
That'd
invite,
be a good idea.
Yeah.
because Shane and I both, and I can call him Shane.
Oh, okay, I was just texting him right now, but yeah.
Oh, go ahead. No, you finish.
Okay.
Text him, that's fine.
I was giving him direct orders. He gotta show up or no
Well,
French fries
as I
from
said,
McDonald's. How's that? Yeah,
What the parent does, the child will do.
right.
So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to just invite him in person.
Okay.
Have that
Oh.
personal contact with him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah, that works for me.
I'd appreciate it, because I don't know nothing about it.
Definitely, yeah. I
Well,
would also appreciate
And
it.
it gives us an opportunity to ask questions to.
And it's a really important issue that's affecting our ocean resources and how the county, the state will be managing based on community consensus. And so how they're bringing in conversation is really important, because I feel like it's going to impact the CDPs around the entire island, actually, in each district. I think it'll impact each district, guarantee. And so it would be nice for them to come and share what this is about, how they're going about it, and then that way you guys can everyone can make a decision. Instead of we trying to give bits and pieces all the time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. That's great. Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Okay, all those in favor of reaching out to Chris Teague to request a presentation, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Charlie.
Yep.
And thanks for reaching out to us. Yeah, if it works out, if he wants to come like next meeting or whatever, you just reach out to us or planning.
I'll let you know, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
When he texts back. Yeah.
Right on. Thanks, Shane. Okay. I just saw in my chair script, no motion was necessary. We motioned anyways. Okay, we'll move on to public testimony on matters not on the agenda. The time is 12:10. We will not take public testimony on matters not on the agenda. Does anybody wish to testify on matters not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to proposed new business. Do any committee members have items to propose for a future agenda? Yes.
I have a couple things. Oh, I serve on the West Hawaii Hospital Board, and the new hospital that's proposed, I found out the other day, is planning on having to build its own sewage treatment plant. It's directly across the street from the public sewage treatment plant. I suspect the reason that it has to build its own private sewage treatment plant is because we don't have the capacity or design at the public sewage treatment plant to take the effluent from the hospital, because we haven't ever finished the sewage treatment plant to its proper specifications where its effluent is taken care of on the proposed parking across the highway. I propose that we have the director of the Department of Environmental Management come and address what's going on with the sewage treatment plant. The hospital board is just received $50 million to build a new clinic on the hospital site. Since it'll be built before the hospital, that means that the private sewage treatment plant will likely have to be built by the state agency out of those funds. I would like to see us be able to use the public treatment plant across the road and use that money to actually better the health outcomes of people in our community. I think government's job is to provide utilities, and I think it's ridiculous that we can't use the sewage treatment plant directly across the highway because it's been mismanaged.
Could you prepare like a letter that for the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
That'd be great.
So that's one thing I'd like to put on the agenda. The other thing I'd like to put on the agenda is something I proposed for this meeting, is a tree planting plan for the area between the highway and town on Queen Kaha Highway, and for the new highway up in front of here. And some things to think about. I think we could even do that where the maintenance of the trees could be paid for by private entities, if we allowed them to plant fruit trees and use it for orchards. But I listened to 2+ hours of tree testimony, and I think that we should follow through and see if we can come up with a plan to plant trees in these corridors.
Yeah, I guess with, it's interesting with, I guess you're talking about Aniko Kalole.
Yep.
Yeah. Because with the low road, it's, state highway, I guess, so they would have the management of that, right?
Yep.
And I guess figuring out.
Actually, no, between town and the airport, I believe, is county.
Really?
No?
State, federal,
Yeah.
federal highway.
Okay.
It's state highways that was funded by federal. Yep.
Okay. But we do have a highway here that we could plant along.
Yeah.
But we may be able to plant those trees from from say Palani out to where Target is. And in that medium, we may be able to pull that off sooner than trying to get the whole thing done. We've got a little bit of a roadblock just as far as our arborists go, and trying to get some new things moving there. Leah is going to be giving a presentation to the arborist committee on the 26th of August, which is a really positive thing. But until we can kind of expand what they do and move towards a planting plan, I mean, I think there are some other things fundamentally that need to be done to get that far, but I think that we could at least get trees planted from, say, the light at Target into town, and that might be a good starting point for us. we've got lots of room on that medium. We could even put monkey pod trees. That would, that would be good.
think it would be
Maybe
great to
Ohia
enhance
would
the-
be better. Like
Yeah,
something
oh, here
more
would be great,
conducive.
except for they're going, the rapid Ohia death is,
Not all of them though, like
no,
there's still, yeah.
We're
It's
discussing
good
we've
to,
lost a bunch
agenda
up in
items
Coloco.
before it's on the
I mean, I'm
agenda.
down.
Yeah, well, let's discuss this more at the next meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good discussions. Yeah,
I personally don't support putting it on the agenda because I think we need to move forward with this tree plan proposal and the tree city proposal. I think it's premature for us to decide on putting certain trees in certain places before we move. The whole purpose of the tree city program and trying to get approval for a tree plan is to be in a position to make these decisions. So I don't think it's up to us to assign that job to ourselves to pick a type of tree to stick in a particular place. So I wouldn't support putting it on the agenda for that reason.
Be good to get an arborist hired.
Okay, does anyone else have any proposed?
Check.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to hold space, and see if I can maybe get the guys from Ocean Wells. to
Ocean
give
Wells.
us a presentation.
Okay. Yeah, I met the guy, well, he was at one of our meetings previously.
Jeff,
I ran into him again at the legislative overview.
We may need to put Bill 147 back on the agenda.
Bill 147. Okay, anything else? And you could always reach out to planning staff or me and Nancy if you have something else you want to add to the agenda. Okay. Announcements. Jeff, do you want to talk about what you emailed Nancy and I? I wasn't too. We didn't get an email separately about that.
Oh, you did get it.
Well, we got yours, but we didn't get it
Oh, you
separately.
didn't?
No, yeah.
Did you, Charlie?
no, on
Okay.
what issue?
There's USGS got funding to do a model the hydrology around the park in this area and stuff like that. And one of the criteria for this model is the woman that's doing it, she's a young PhD hydrologist, she graduated from UH Manova, she's at USGS now. So she needs to come and give an overview of what's been done already and what she's proposing to do, and then she'll get community input and stuff like that. So that is on August 3rd at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. up in the room you guys usually meet in.
The B building,
Yeah, what were you just?
yeah, but
Me too.
you're announcing it to the public.
Oh, yeah, the building B,
I had an
B2,
invite
second
to
floor
that.
conference.
You got an invite to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
You,
I got an invite to that with an RSVP.
I gave them all, that's weird, I
Yeah.
gave them all, and you guys, okay,
I got that.
Yeah, I got yours, but
but you didn't,
I didn't get a separate one. No.
okay,
Do you want me to forward this to planning staff and they could send out the invite to the
yeah,
whole committee?
yeah.
But anyway, you're announcing it for anybody at the public that's
Yeah.
gonna watch this meeting too.
Right.
You did ask for
Yeah.
RSVP, so I'm not sure.
Well, let's make it to just, I don't know how many you'll fit, so Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee members.
Okay.
No, okay.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Sorry, I lost all the papers. Okay. The planning department is seeking applicants for the Kona CDP Action Committee. The application can be found at the mayor's office website under boards and commissions. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 11th. And anybody else have any announcements?
I believe that meeting will be in B2 again. I'm gonna see if this room is open because it's a lot easier to load and we actually have a projector here. So
Yes.
that's one less thing we have to bring, but I believe someone has this room next
Okay.
year, so.
It's a lot better room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
love this
think
room.
it's, yeah, it's more open. I think I don't know, the audio seems better in here. I don't know if that's just me. But
I to skip back it, I think we should probably put Tree City back on the agenda, Charlotte.
Oh, you're muted, Charlotte.
Unmute. Might still be premature. We're still working on a few things and I'd like to get a little further along, so I'm a little more to report.
Okay,
Yeah. If that changes, I'll let you know.
Okay,
I'm working on a few things. Nothing's sticking to the wall.
okay. Anything else? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. The meeting is adjourned at 2:21. Thank you all for staying late. Appreciate it.
Aloha.
See you, Shane. See you, Charlotte. Thank
Yeah,
you.
good to be with you guys.
Have a good time in